Saint Anthony of Egypt d. 356 is a canonized Christian saint in Catholic and Orthodox Christianity. Athanasius of Alexandria d. 373, a major church father and figure at the Council of Nicaea, narrates stories about Antony's life in Vita Antoni. As you can tell by the thumbnail, we're going to be discussing a very disturbing Christian miracle story about Saint Anthony of Egypt. But before we do that, we need some background context behind the reason for this video. Chriscox have been sharing a story about Prophet Muhammad SAW and Ibn Masud, where they claim it is a homosexual encounter between the Prophet SAW and some tribesmen from the Al Zut tribe. We will show how story is fictional, and even if it was assumed to be real, that there was no homosexual intercourse involved. This refutation will cite statements from Elon Harvey, an Israeli Jewish secular academic of Hadith studies, who states that the Al Zut story is not sexual. Additionally, we will cite the statements of ex-Muslim Hassan Radwan, ex-Muslim apostate Aladdin, and ex-Christian atheist genetically modified skeptic to show that the Zut Hadith is not sexual. The translation of the Zut Hadith from Masnad HMAD, from _Sunnah to .com, run by Chriscox apologists as discovered by ex-Muslim apostate Aladdin and ex-Christian atheist genetically modified skeptic.
Oh, and there's a related website called Mormonism Wow. Now, why would someone go through all that effort to dunk on Islam and Mormonism but skip over mainstream Christianity? Who gains the benefit from that?
To begin with, the Hadith is weak. According to the standards of Bukhari, however, we'll assume it's authentic for the sake of argument. So first point, they were not the actual Zut people. The phrasing indicates that they were beings that resembled the Zut. Second point, they were naked, but he couldn't see their private parts. Thus, this supports the first point that they were not actual humans, but supernatural beings, i.e. jinn. These reports from ADH Dahabi and Abu Bakr Ayyabaza confirm that they were jinn. The verb means to crowd, climb, clamber over, etc. And further confirmation that it means to crowd, climb, clamber over.
By them being naked. So as you can see, you can find photos online of supernatural, ghostly, or scary beings that are jinn-like that have this description where they're just naked bodies, but they don't have private parts showing.
PIMTIV responds to, it does not mean that their private parts were not visible the entire night, just perhaps at the first approach. Ibn Masud says in Musnad HMAD they were naked, but I could not see their private parts. In Tirmidhi, he says, I did not see nakedness nor covering. This further proves that these jinn did not have private parts, so intercourse could not even have happened. Oftentimes nakedness is used to refer to our genitals specifically. So if their nether areas were lacking genitals, then saying he did not see neither nakedness nor clothed is not a contradiction. Thus both statements mutually explain each other.
I imagine it went like this. IB and Masood, they were neither naked nor clothed.
Then a listener says, what does that mean exactly?
And IB and Masood replies, they were naked, but Liu couldn't see their private parts.
Preemptive response to he couldn't see their private parts because black skin and black night. In the report, IBN Masood says he was able to observe their hair.
How could he observe their hair in the darkness of the night, but not their private parts? Additionally, the Zut approached IBN Masood as well when he was in the circle.
He would have been easily able to see their genitals when they approached him. So mentioning this detail does not inform us of anything unless it means that they were actually lacking in genitals.
And as Chris Kirk Raymond mentions, the pennies of AI Zut never weaken, so even in the darkness of the night, IB and Masood should have been able to see the silhouette of the Zut pennies.
Additionally, in both the Musnad AHMAD and Tamidi report, the Zutjins disappear as morning light beings to show.
Their private parts would have been visible at this point if they had them, and thus it wouldn't make sense for IB and Masood to mention this detail when he was retelling the story after the fact. He could have simply said, and they were naked.
Why did IBN Masood sit down when the jinns approached?
He had a natural reaction of being afraid of supernatural beings, so he sat down in a cowering position to calm himself.
Why was the prophetess A.W. tired after the encounter? As Elon Harvey, an Israeli Jewish secular academic at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem explains, it was because the jinn were climbing and clambering over him as he recited the Quran to them.
Further confirmation by ex-Muslim Hassan Radwan that jinn were crowding or climbing on the Prophet S.A.W. as he recited the Quran to them, and thus the tiredness arose from their climbing on him.
Christian Saint Anthony of Egypt d.
356, and his miraculous encounter with friends of whoredom and spirits of lust in the form of black males during a desert retreat, as narrated by Church Father Athanasius of Alexandria d. 373 in Vita Antoni.
So Athanasius informs us in passage 5 that a demon in the form of a woman approaches Antony and tries to seduce him as he's practicing asceticism alone in the desert. Now let's go to passage 6. So, in passage 5, a demon appears in the form of a woman and tries to seduce Antony.
Then the demon gets frustrated at his failure and then transitions into a black slave and calls himself a friend of whoredom and spirit of lust.
Interesting. Note: early church text.com translated it as black boy. I edited boy to slave instead because the demon calls himself a friend of whoredom and spirit of lust. So slave seems more appropriate than boy. Also, Antony says to the demon, you are weak like a child, which is an insult, which means the demon isn't a boy but a man.
Also, a Krishkak might try to say black is not referring to skin color. So here's proof the word is used that way.
I have highlighted where in passage 6 each word is used. In the second instance, Antony uses black to refer to the demon's heart, but in the other two instances it refers to appearance.
Passage 5. Demon comes in the form of a woman to seduce Antony, fails. Passage 6. Transforms into a black slave and calls himself a friend of whoredom and spirit of lust. Passage 7. Fill it up now onto passage 8.
Lol.
So a demon comes in the form of a woman, tries to seduce Antony, then turns into a black slave and calls himself a friend of whoredom and spirit of lust.
And then comes with a multitude of demons and pounds Antony of Egypt with blows and leaves him paralyzed.
The term blows is just a generic term for blow or wound to the body. It can refer to any part of the body, and even has sexual usages as well.
Now let's go to passage 9.
The same verb that was used in passage 8 to describe the attack is used again by the demon, and then he says, let's go at him in another fashion.
So now they are resorting to an animal attack lol, which means what happened before was a gangbang.
A Christian might say that neither by spirit of lust nor by blows did we stay the man implies that the blows were not sexual, but that is false.
They start attacking him in another fashion. Passage 5 has the demon come in the form of a woman to seduce him. Then in passage 6, the demon transforms into a black slave and calls himself a friend of whoredom. Then in passage 8, the demon comes with a multitude of demons and pounds Antony with blows, leaving him unable to move. Then afterwards Antony survives, but is tired and in excessive pain.
Then the demons lament that neither the spirit of lust nor blows worked on him. So they decide to attack him in another fashion.
They transform into several types of animals.
So their initial idea was to use all kinds of sexual attacks before using violence as animals. Also, would friends of whoredom and spirits of lust really skip out on a gangbang? Did they only do BDSM? We can extend this. The demons say neither by the spirit of lust, nor by blows of lust. In other words, these friends of whoredom were not able to defeat Saint Antony neither by spirit of lust seduction, nor by blows of lust gangbang.
As these demons were friends of whoredom and spirits of lust, doesn't it make sense that they resorted to blow of the steam of their lust by delivering blows of lust to Saint Antony?
Now on to passage 10. Now,
this shows that the Zut Hadith is not sexual, because the one who fabricated the Zut Hadith knew the Antony of Egypt story must have been like, WTF, why is this so famous among Chriscucks? So they made sure to at this detail remove any sexual possibility in the Zut Jinn Hadith.